What's up guys, so in today's video I'm going to teach you exactly how I get backlinks on websites like this. So this is cloudways.com. I recently got a link on there. They're a DR89 website, which is pretty high, and their organic traffic is almost 250,000 per month, which is pretty decent, okay? And you can see if we scroll down on this page, I was recently featured in their article. And the other thing is, well, this is a really good piece of PR. I mean, Cloudways, they're a massive hosting website. And with my link building agency, I'm trying to target people who own websites. So if I get PR on a website like this, then it's going to reach my target market, and it's also going to be useful as a link too. Okay, so how do I get free publicity and backlinks like this? Well, basically I use a website called helpareporter.com, and this is really useful for basically finding journalists who are looking for websites like you to contribute to their articles. So basically this site, helpareporter.com, has over 1 million sources, 75,000 journalists, tons of PR and link building opportunities. And once you go to the website, what you can do is sign up here. And when you do that, you can sign up for a free account, and basically you'll receive emails every single day from HARO. And once you start getting these emails coming through, you'll see loads of PR opportunities from journalists, and I'll show you that in a second. So the HARO emails you'll receive, which come twice a day, are going to look something like this, right? So you'll get a breakdown by industry. So you see biotech, healthcare here, business and finance, education. You'll see by industry that the HARO responses from journalists are set out like this, right? So if you click one of them, you'll see that you'll get the question from the journalist. And this is the question you need to answer in your response. Then you'll get the name of the person to contact, the category, the email address to contact for the email, the media outlet, and then the deadline too. Now, when it comes to the deadline, make sure you actually submit your HARO query before the deadline, because if not, then all the time that you've spent in creating a response is going to be wasted, because if you don't hit the deadline, you won't be featured for that particular query. And then when we look at the query, this is the question you're going to be answering. So you can see here it's about sensory toys for kids. And then quite often these journalists will have requirements. So if you're going to be answering this particular topic, then you should be an occupational therapist or a pediatric psychologist, or one of these other things. So usually if I'm building HARO links for my agency, what I'll do is scroll down to the business and finance section. I'll scroll down here, and usually there's like 3 or 4 queries per day that I can answer, okay? And literally these queries only take like 10 minutes per day or 5 minutes per day to answer each one of them. So it's a really easy way to get high quality links. And then what you can also do is, if you're not sure whether you want to be featured on the website, maybe you want to check out the quality, you can see quite often the blog is mentioned. So you can search out on Google or search on Ahrefs, and then check out what's the quality of the website like, and do you want to be featured on there. So in terms of what your HARO query should actually look like, here's an example of the Cloudways response I sent to get that DR89 backlink. So it's really simple, to be honest. Basically in your subject line, just include HARO and then the name of the query. And then from here, make sure you email the query email address that you actually get in the HARO breakdown, as I showed you before. And then, yeah, I would recommend including the person's first name if you've got it in the email. And from there, you can see how it's really cleanly set out, okay? So like pretty much every sentence is on a new line. It's really easy to read. It's really easy for a journalist to just copy and paste that and put it in their article. When it comes to formatting, what I also do is bold the headers. So then it's easier for the journalist to find out, which section relates to what. And also, I introduce myself in the first line of the email, but I keep it super short, and also explain why I'm responding to the HARO query. From here, you can see that everything's been grammar checked and spell checked and that sort of thing. And then also, what I make sure I do is, in the last line of the email, I make sure I ask for the journalist to let me know if they feature my submission in their article, because sometimes journalists just won't tell you if they feature you. So it's important to include the CTA so that you can make sure they actually feature you in their article, and that you get a notification once the link has been landed. Then also, I just end the email super politely with my name and my job title, and include some links. So journalists quite often, they want to do a bit of research and make sure you know what you're talking about. So include like links to your social media. So for example, YouTube, your LinkedIn, include a tiny bit about you and who you are. And then also include a link to your website and headshot. Quite often a journalist is going to feature your headshot in the article if they feature you at all. So yeah, you definitely want to include that, and then also a website so they can sort of check out what you do and who you are. Now, one other thing I want to mention before I go is that when it comes to Haro, this is basically PR, okay? And your brand's reputation is at stake. So it's important to really protect that and to be really careful about the responses you send. So actually, when I'm outsourcing this particular task to members in my team, what I do is I tell them exactly not what to do, and I make sure that they think about what they're doing from a business perspective. Okay, so whether you're writing these Haro queries or whether someone else is, you always want to ask yourself like these questions, like, what do my clients want to see? Okay, will this represent me professionally? Because essentially, if you're getting PR as well as backlinks, then potential customers or clients are going to see your responses. Okay, so make sure you don't write anything unprofessional. Proofread and spell check your responses. Make sure you represent yourself in a professional way. Doesn't mean you need to overdo it. You don't need to be too formal, but make sure that if a customer sees this, they want to buy from you and that they respect your brand afterwards, okay? And then also, when it comes to replying to Haro queries, first of all, don't write anything too long, and definitely don't write anything too controversial, okay? So anything political, anything related to conspiracy theories, which quite often come up on Haro and could look like a link building opportunity, may actually hurt your brand in the long term. So just be really careful about that, and avoid topics that are just very politically charged. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope that video helped you. By the way, if you want to get white hat backlinks to actually increase your rankings and drive more organic traffic to your site, then I do run a link building agency. I'll drop the link in the description, but it's at juliangoldie.com. And if you want to get high quality backlinks, you want to see better rankings with SEO, then feel free to schedule in a call here or just get in touch via the contact button and I'll be happy to help you. All right, thanks for watching.